welcome to my video. Let me just fix that a little bit. In this video, I'm going to try on my top 10 favorite handmade knits. So these are all knitted sweaters and cardigans that I have made, and I'm going to be starting with number 1 and then, no, number 1. That would not be a very exciting video. I'm gonna start with number 10, obviously, and then count down. And in the process, I thought I would share some lessons learned, maybe something that I would do differently if I would knit the same project again, so that hopefully you'll get some insights and maybe learn from my mistakes, and just hopefully it will be entertaining as well and interesting. And these are really projects that some of them are very old and a lot of them are quite recent. And yeah, I'm just really excited about this and let's see what I have learned and what things that I could improve on. Probably still could improve on. Alright, knit number 10. So this is a really old project of mine and I wanted to include it because this is one of the cardigans that has so much potential and I really loved it when I knitted it. It's completely made with scrap yarn, so you can imagine how much weaving in there was of the ends at the end of the project. I did wear it at the time. I mean, we're talking like this probably back in 2014, 15, maybe even before, so it's like really old. But I love the concept of it, and now, of course, there are many things I would do different, and you can even see like the buttons, they aren't even evenly spaced out. And also I think it's I would make it much bigger. Like I feel like the yoke is pretty tight and it goes up pretty tight. So there are many things, like technical things that I would do in a different way, but the basic concept and idea of it, I still really like. And I also really like these cute pockets. Maybe I wouldn't add the little pink thing in there, I would make them more simple. And another thing that I would also do, I would change the buttons because they are very rustic and I feel like the cardigan in itself is already so rustic. So I would go for more simple, more modern to create that contrast and make it feel a little less kind of homemade. But yeah, I don't know, the colors, the idea, it's still one of my favorites. So this one deserves number 10 on the list. Oh yeah, one thing that I forgot to say, I have now my knits on this rack, but I would definitely recommend to not keep your knits on a rack or on a hanger, because when you have a knit on a hanger, it will pull itself down, or the weight of it, and it will probably grow, like it will stretch, and also sometimes like these really nasty little marks from the hanger will appear. So always store your knits folded and not on a hanger like I have right here. Yeah, just wanted to say that word of caution, because otherwise I would be a very irresponsible knitter. In 9th place, we have this pom-pom knit, and I adore this yarn. It's from Sandnes Garn, which is one of my favorite yarn brands, and this is their silk mohair, which I've knitted with, I believe, 2 or 3 strands. And I love the color, the quality, the softness of it. But there are a few things in this one that I would do differently. So I really like this idea with these pom-poms, or like popcorn knit that some call it. But I wish I would have spaced them out in a different way, because when I was knitting this, I didn't have a clear plan, and then I just started to make these pom-poms, and it's the same way in the back. And I wish instead of, like, I tried to make this kind of a pattern that goes like this in a V shape, but I wish I would have instead made some rays or just put them evenly spaced out, or I don't know, just in a different way. I feel like it's not great how they look. Or just like have the whole sweater covered in pom-poms or something like that. And then I also feel like the decreases I did in the yoke, they aren't so even. And again, I feel like the armpit comes up really high, like you can see it's pretty like high in there, which isn't so comfortable. And also in the winter, when you are kind of warm, or you get warm under your winter coat, this really just makes it warmer. I wish this would have been a little bit bigger. I think if I would wet it, like soak it, wet block it, it could grow a little bit and become bigger. So maybe that's something I'll do. But otherwise, yeah, I love the color. I really like the idea of it once again, and I have worn this a lot. There are some small things, like technical things, and also in the design that I would change if I would do it again. All right, number 8, we have a real oldie, but I did feel like I wanted to include at least one Fair Isle project because I was really into those kind of knits for a long time. And this one has, well, I included it because back in the day when I knitted it, I did wear it a lot, and the color palette I think still is pretty striking, if I say so myself. So this one is knitted with Cascade wool, 100% Peruvian wool, and then I think Finnish lamb wool, this like the white part here. And what I really like about this one is that it has such an open neckline, which brings, I feel, like a really feminine silhouette, and also it has really long sleeves, which again I think is pretty elegant. And yeah, the color combination, it's just really, can you say extraordinary or special? Something that you wouldn't normally find in a shop, I think. Now, the things that I would do differently though, I would change the shape of the garment itself, especially the hem. You can see the hem is really kind of flaring out like this. And back in the day, maybe when I knitted this like 7 years ago, this was more the silhouette, but now I prefer when the hem is pretty tight and then you instead have here more fabric and more volume. So that's why I don't really wear this anymore. I mean, you could tuck it into a pair of trousers or jeans, and then maybe you could make it more contemporary, but I wish I would have used a smaller set of needles for the hem. And now when I knit, because I knit pretty loosely, I will always, if I'm knitting the project with say 5 or 6 millimeter needles in European size, I will usually use do the rib or the hem with a 3 millimeter needle, for example. So really small to get that really tight knit so that so this doesn't happen. So the hem, that doesn't look like a little skirt because that's not the shape that I prefer and that I was going for. But otherwise, this one is still a favorite of mine. And also I have this pattern in my Ravelry shop if you would like to try to make this, and then you could of course just use much smaller needles for the hem if you like this pattern. All right, in spot number 7, we have this one. It's a yellow little number. And this one, I love this one. This is definitely one of my favorite ones. Let me bring you up a little. This is definitely one of my favorite knits I've ever made, and here in place number 7. And it's all due to, well, two things, I think. One is these super cute crochet buttons. Now, buttons. I think they can really make or break a cardigan and a knit project, and I personally find it very tricky to find good buttons, and with this one I was really struggling. And well, with the next one I'm gonna share another tip with how I sometimes solved that button issue. But with this one I used ugly old buttons that I found in a drawer, and I just crocheted around them in the same yarn, so then they don't stick out so much, and it's just a really nice little detail, which I feel it makes it look almost like you bought it in a store, and it just looks very pro. And again, it's kind of, you can't even see them almost. The second thing I really like about this one is it has very long sleeves and kind of an oversized sleeve or a long one, but then it's still pretty cropped, so it looks really nice with the dress. Actually, I'm gonna change into a dress. I'm gonna show you how it looks with the dress. Ta-da! As I was saying, I wanted to make a cardigan that would look good with a dress, and that's why I made it very cropped, so it's quite short. And this is also, I think, a trend that we've seen a lot now. I think like longer knits are coming back, or at least I've seen in the stores lots of those longer cardigans and longer knits. This was also the first time I knitted a cardigan in this half brioche knit or half patent knit. It's called like different things in different languages, but I really like how it turned out. And I kind of like that it's not so smooth, or that it's a little actually rough. And also the color, like yellow is not something I wear normally that often, but I really like this kind of honey yellow color, and I've worn this a lot, and I'm sure I'm going to be wearing it lots this winter again. Continuing on the subject of buttons, in this cardigan, I solved the button issue in a different way because I didn't want to have like visible big buttons. So instead, I just used press buttons. So they kind of just hide in there and become invisible in the overall look. And instead, this pattern gets to be the main character in this piece. Another thing that I really like about this one is that it's so easy to wear. I've worn it with so many things and it's just a favorite in my wardrobe. One thing that I maybe would change is when I fasten the top button, it gets a little tight around my neck, so I probably wouldn't do as many decreases for the yoke, but otherwise this is just like an off-white cardigan. Can never have too many of those. And I really like also to use light colors, especially when you have a pattern or structure, because when you knit that, it just more visible, and yeah, I just like the overall look of it. Oh, the next one some of you will know. It is the Sunday brunch sweater that we made together. I showed you a tutorial on how to make, and the pattern is free, so you can, I'll link the video up here, so if you want to make this. So this is called the Sunday brunch sweater. It's a super chunky, really easy to knit sweater, and I mean, first of all, this yarn is so soft, and I've been wearing this a lot already, and especially now when it's getting colder. I really adore this color. It's kind of like a soft, like eggshell color, I would say. And also what this one taught me, or what I learned, was that when you knit so chunky, it actually is really nice to have a shorter sleeve. So this is 3/4, and of course when you make the pattern, you can just make the sleeves longer, just continue knitting longer if you want to have a full length. But I really like it because I think it gives it, can you see the full me? Just a minute. There we go. I think it just gives it a really nice and feminine silhouette again. It's a little bit cropped, but quite oversized, again, because I wanted to be able to wear it with the dresses. And the collar is quite big and chunky. And actually, one tip that I want to give you, also in the pattern, I used a little bit less stitches because I felt the collar became pretty big. I had one little issue with the collar, which was that it was like standing or like flaring out a little bit. So what I did was I took an elastic thread and I just threaded that through, just like one of these see-through ones that if you ever made these bracelets with beads that is then elastic. One of those I did, and I threaded it through here, the collar, and then so it's just kind of sits a bit nicer around the neck and doesn't kind of flare out. So that's a little tip if you want to go ahead and use that one. But yeah, otherwise I think I'm going to be using this one so much this winter. And if you want to knit one yourself, then the pattern is free. I will also link that in the description below. Or no, this description is not below anymore on YouTube. It's there to the right of the screen. So there, it should be there. Number 4, we have this striped sweater, which I knitted pretty recently, and I really love it. I really felt like I wanted to have something colorful in my wardrobe, and then I just used these scrap yarns, or kind of, you know, I'm a knitter. I have a huge yarn stash, and unfortunately I have a lot of yarn which I just have maybe 1 ball of, 2 balls of, and I can't really make a whole sweater out of them. So instead I used all this yarn that I had left from different projects, or I didn't know what to do with them, and just combined them into one sweater. And I really love this one. It's very oversized, it's very loose, it has kind of these balloon sleeves, which I really enjoy. One thing that you probably might see, which I would do differently, is that because it has so much, like it's really, really, really oversized here, then the decreases, like it looks a little, it's not great. Like technically I got impatient and I didn't pay enough attention when I was knitting. So there's a lot of volume and fabric here, and then suddenly I just decrease it. So I would have done that more evenly spaced out. I think I will do another version with different colors, and then I'm gonna try to make the decreases a little bit nicer and more even, and maybe just make like a raglan shape. So instead I have all the decreases here and not like evenly spread out, to avoid this like weird wrinkly thing here. But otherwise, this one is a sweater I'm definitely going to be using this winter, I know for sure. It's also really soft. It's like all these alpaca and mohair yarns that I've used, and I just like that it's so cheery. It kind of reminds me of Pippi Longstocking, I think she's called in English, because it's kind of like a cheery and happy sweater. All right, final top 3. Things are getting very, very exciting. So in place number 3, we have this little piece, which has the loveliest shade of peachy pink. And I have worn this a lot, which you can see that, unfortunately. I kind of by mistake, I feel, just happened upon like a really, really nice fit. Like I really love how this looks and how it drapes on the body. It has a very boxy fit, and then the sleeves start out being quite narrow, and then they really flare out, and it has again like this balloon shape that I really like, and they're also quite long, the sleeves. And overall, like I've just worn this sweater so much, and it works really nice with jeans, it works really nice with dresses, so kind of covered in all areas with this one. Also, I think this was the first project, oh excuse me, I have like some fluff, the first project that I did a double folded collar, which if you followed my channel for a while, you've heard me talk about this already, but I've essentially folded the collar double, which I just really like the look of, and it gives it a more contemporary feel, I think. And with lots of, when you knit yourself, when you knit the collar, a lot of them will kind of be a little floppy and they won't really stay in place. So this trick I've really found helpful in that, and I think this was the first project I tried this with, and since then I've knitted all my sweaters and cardigans with the same technique. In second place, we have this cardigan that I'm sure you've seen already, the cinnamon twist cardigan, and here it is in white, and I also have it in another color that you can see here. I made a whole video. There's a pattern that you can download if you want to make this cardigan. It is truly one of my all-time smash hits. I feel like it's one of those knit projects that everything just comes together, and the one that I just showed you with the dropped shoulder and with the big sleeves and the fit and everything, I really took inspiration from that because I really, really enjoyed that fit, and I just used it in a cardigan instead. And then with this one, we have these diamond buttons, and in the other one there's like normal buttons, so you can customize that the way you want. But this one is just, it's been so versatile. I've used this so much, and I really feel like with this one I nailed that really kind of handmade designery feel and not the homemade feel, which is something that I always want to try to go for. So it looks like you could have bought it at a pretty expensive store, I think. All right, are you ready for number 1? Drum roll, please. Ta-da! This one, I decided this deserves number 1 because this is by far the sweater that I have used the most, and there are a couple of reasons why. First of all, it is so soft. It's like you just purr when you wear this, so I've been wearing it so much and it's so warm. Secondly, the color combination. I've knitted this with one strand of Drops Air and one strand of Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk, I believe the yarn is called. And that combination just produced the most, it's kind of like a really warm, beige, caramelly, but kind of a little bit oat milky, kind of like oat milk, but a little darker maybe. And for some reason, that color has just really been a favorite, and just again, something that is so easy to combine with things. Now, this one is very, very heavily inspired by the knit designer Petite Knit. which I definitely, well, you probably know her already, but if you don't, then I definitely encourage you to check her out, because she has really simple and kind of elegant but very modern knitwear, and she has one design that has this feature, so I got really inspired by that one. I found it on Pinterest like years ago. This one is an old one again. And then I didn't knit it according to that pattern, I just made my own version of it. But if you want to knit a similar one, you can find her pattern and knit her pattern, because it's beautiful. But yeah, this one is number one. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, thank you so much for sticking around. Let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite knit of all of this. Which one did you think was really like the hit of these top 10. This was only my selection, obviously. If you'd like to see more of my photos, more of my knitwear, because I do post a lot of photos with my knitwear in them, you can go and check out my Instagram account. I'm over at Kutovakika on Instagram. I also have a hashtag now for more knit related things, where I also invite you, because I would like to see your knit projects. So I have a hashtag called knitwithkika, so you're you're welcome to use that one as well if you post on Instagram. All right, with that, hope you have a nice evening, morning, day, night, wherever in the world you are, and I will see you next time. Bye!